We got a nice crowd today. I see Sam CZ's made it in. So, welcome. So welcome to the first one. Essentially, what this is just a place where we
glitching like crazy.
Where we can. I'm wondering. I think I have like some audio issues. Give me 1 second. Hey, Valley, I'm gonna invite you to speak. I'm having issues on my side on audio.
There we go. Hey, so howdy everybody. Sorry about that. There's something wrong with Chris's mic. Taking over. I'm gonna help with that. Apologies for the mic issue. Welcome to the first ever official Immunify Hacker Hangout. Some of you guys, I believe, were early birds and were here for the last one. That was kind of like the quick little beta test that went well. And now we're gonna be having this every other week. We have some fucking stars here. I believe that Sam CZ's son has offered to hop on stage and do an AMA. And as a lot of you guys know, he's one of the best hackers we have. I think at this point he's claimed 7 digits in white hat bug bounties. If not, it's high 6 digits. Sam, you can correct me. And if anybody else wants to hop on, ask questions, if you are a white hat or want to be one and answer some, just let us know. Raise your hand. And yeah, welcome. Let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and make Sam a speaker, assuming I can figure out the bloody UX on this thing. Let's see. Invites. Nope. Anybody? 1 second. I'm gonna figure out how to make somebody a speaker. I think because I'm not a moderator, I can't. Chris, you want to make Sam a speaker?
Yeah, I can invite him on here. I don't. It was.
No, Chris, your audio is still completely. You sound like a dead chipmunk.
Oh my gosh. Let me see if headphones fix this.
There we go. All right, I'm gonna mute myself. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, good to be here. I just thought I'd come along and just hear what's going on. But yeah, happy to answer questions as well, I guess.
So yeah, hopefully if my audio is good, would love to invite people to see if they can ask any questions, or even kick off any discussions, things about either current events that are happening, things you want help on, things you'd like to how to get started on certain things, how to get started in bug bounties. Feel free to hop in with any questions.
Hey, just gonna check in. Is anybody else able to hear Chris, or is it still messy audio? If anybody wants to raise their hands and confirm, let us know, because I believe Chris's audio is completely out of whack. I'm trying to fix that. Also, Sam, is your mic working? Apologies for the technical difficulties, guys. This is the first time we're doing this, officially at least.
Mic check.
I think yours is off too, Sam. What might help is if you guys hop into your fucking settings and go to voice and video, you can switch the input-output devices. You can even just try switching when you're on and back. That might fix this, I hope.
I can actually hear Sam without an issue.
Yeah, Chris, yours is still fucked.
Might it be your speakers instead?
Oh my god.
I can hear Chris all right. He's fine.
Okay, thanks, Luv. So I don't know if it's just on Valley's side, but I can hear Sam. Luv, I can hear you as well. So yeah, if you guys can't hear me, just pop into the chat, and I will try and figure this out. But yeah, again, like this is open. Feel free to hop in with any questions that you guys have. Feel free to start some of the discussion. Let me know if you guys want. I mean, I guess I can start off a few things. I know I just came across something earlier today where I believe it was Grim Finance. Those guys just got hacked. I don't even know how much that was, but I'll double check it right now. Let's see where it was. So Grim Finance hacked for 30 million. Looks as if there was an exploit discovered in the vault contract. And so it seems as if, just on my, I guess, base understanding, the hacker executed a re-entrancy attack. And so essentially that exploit essentially allowed someone to fake additional deposits into a vault while also being able, while an initial transaction is being processed at the same time. So that's one of the things that was happening that I came across this Monday morning, or maybe afternoon for some of you guys. But yeah, feel free again to anything that you guys have learned, anything you guys find interesting, pop in, let me know. Or if you guys want to ask Sam a question, or anybody else here in this room a question, either hop in to the into the chat, or I invite you onto the stage.
Let's see. Daniel asks, anything new in the world? I mean, bridge stuff. I think I mentioned that in the interview. But
So if I stay off bridges, then I'll be fine.
yeah, exactly. You can't get hacked if you don't use the chain. Pro tip.
That's true. Yeah, I love deleting code. It makes me so happy because it's 100% bulletproof at that point.
Exactly. I guess. Oh, and for what it's worth, like I'm happy to not log all the attention here. So like people feel free to jump in. But I guess for microservices, that's it's mostly from scratch. I don't know. It's probably like one of the few times I get to actually write some code nowadays. So it's like a good engineering challenge. And then partly I'm a masochist, I guess.
Hey, I think I was invited over to speak, and I'll ask my question live. And apologies if this is a bit of a noob question, but I kind of wanted to give you a sense from the folks in the group, like what the best way to test out some POCs are. I found I'm like kind of struggling with dependency hell when I'm trying to like take a contract from Etherscan, and I want to test something out locally, and I'm trying to like figure out how like which versions of like which Open Zeppelin contracts I need to import, or dealing with things with Hardhat. So I just thought I would love to hear if there's a workflow or standard workflow, or what other folks do to kind of address this with getting started.
Well, I always use Brownie and work off of a mainnet fork. That way, the entire ecosystem is already loaded at my fingertips, and I just get started and say contract.from explorer this address, and then I can start manipulating it. Brownie also unlocks everything by default, so you just use whatever send transactions from whatever addresses you want. You can go use Binance's billions to manipulate things if you feel like it. So it seems pretty painless to me.
There was also an article that was posted on the Munify blog. I'll throw it in the general if you want to review that as well. Just an additional resource that you could take a look at.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those, and one I was trying to work my way through with like grabbing the ABIs from different contracts, and I was making progress on it, but it was yeah, like just what I was saying, dependency hell. So Brownie sounds like something I didn't want to check out for a while, so maybe that's worth digging into.
All right. I think Wright had a question. Let me see. Let me get you back up here. Where'd you go?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, hi. Sorry to barge in before you bring on the next person. I just want to quickly throw out this question to Sam or anybody. Specifically for the Sam's interview, which I read, he mentioned that his primary methodology is manual review of the code. Going line by line. So my question to someone who is very proficient in this area of identifying and exploiting bugs, what would be if there are any crutches or some hacks around this area to actually identify these bugs, that would be very helpful. This sounds a little bit weird, I know, from a technical perspective. I just want to know, since you guys have more experience, and since Mr. Sam has a lot of experience in this area. Thank you.
Yeah,
guys
I
hear
mean,
me?
I think a lot of it is just.
Sorry.
I think a lot of it is just building up the intuition around what to look for. I mean, I suppose there's some rules that you can apply. Like for example, you can basically ignore most utility contracts, utility libraries. I mean, even then, that's hard. Like, it's really hard to give
Yeah,
like
I understand.
like exception. I think it's just something that as you start reading more contracts, you'll sort of like gain the insight to like what you can safely ignore without missing out on potential issues and what you can't. Even with like utility contracts, I would say blanket probably okay to skip, but you can imagine a case where there's some helper function that calculates some important value, and then that is broken in a way that propagates through the rest of the code.
So from a bounty hunting point of view, the job is easier than securing a contract, because from a bounty point of view, you only have to find one problem to make money, whereas when you're trying to secure a contract, you have to find all the problems. So bounty hunting to me is fun. Securing contracts to me is terrifying. But when I'm looking for code problems, there's kind of a hot list of things that people get wrong all the time, like reentrancy or Oracle prices that are manipulatable from an Oracle or stuff. So you kind of, if you read through how people have gotten hacked in the past and go down into the code on each one of those, then you real fast pick up a list of these things will kill contracts over and over and over again. So often, if I'm just on my phone and having fun and wanted to look at a system, I'll just scan for the stupid things that happen over and over and over again. Beyond that, for the things that people don't find, is if you start with if this piece of code did something wrong, it would be bad. Is there any way I can make this bad thing happen, and then kind of expand out from there to find a harder to find thing. But those are my two rules, or two approaches, I guess.
Okay, thanks. I get it. I think the gist is to look at the most frequently encountered ones and try to see if they exist in the most probable target, right?
That's at least the easiest way to get started. And probably the third way would be an automated system, either that you are just kind of off the shelf automated, or something that you've custom built to custom look for problems.
Okay, thanks a lot.
There's cool. Yeah, just to add, there's also some like intuition that you pick up after like reading and reviewing many contacts. One of the kind of things to kind of pinpoint is when you look at a function, you can kind of see what is happening and what are the things that you can control, right? Because as an attacker or someone trying to find a bug, you can only really control the parameters that go into the function. So it's kind of important to see how those things are used, and you kind of strip out like the important assignments of things that you don't really need to read. So I definitely just think it's like a practice thing of like who can read the most contracts,
Cool. I'm just going through the event channel, seeing a few questions. I guess one of the questions, Sam, this is actually directly towards you. This is interesting too. Is Omeg asked, want to get your opinion on Rust. I want to see does Rust have the possibility to introduce a new attack vector against smart contracts. So I want to see if you could provide any insight, if you have any on that specific topic.
I have no idea what this question means. Maybe like Solana?
I guess Omeg, if you want to rephrase or clarify the question, I'll go ahead and ask it again.
Just jumping in, answering on IRS Inspector's question. It says many malicious contracts on the blockchain have no source code nor way to interact with them, and no ABI either. These contracts are deployed and ready to attack. How could we find out what to do / protect from them? Is there any forensic tool or technique that could help us? At least on Etherscan, or on Ethereum, there's contract-library.com that will give you a decompiled version of contracts. And it's pretty easy to find at least how to interact with them by looking at that. I think people a lot of times overestimate how difficult it is to work with decompiled contracts or with the gut levels of solidity. It's not actually that hard. But from a bug bounty point of view, 99% of my life is just keep my contracts secure. And so I don't have that problem. And from a bug bounty problem, most of the time when people are asking you to bug bounty their stuff, the code is already published. So it hasn't been a real issue there.
Yeah, speaking of bounties and contracts, the number of times I've seen people tweeting about how they're launching a new bug bounty program and then not open sourcing all of their contracts is frustrating. Why do people do this? That's not how you do a bounty program. Also, on Rust, Solana is exciting. It's I will not pretend to be the expert in Solana. I would much rather defer to Neodyme, who seems to be the leading firm in that space. They're both the posts they released recently, as well as the workshop they held, where they went over all the various ways you could shoot yourself in the foot in Solana. Seems like we're gonna be reseeing the early 2017 Ethereum days all over again. I guess to directly answer your question, I'm not really sure if Rust itself is a problem. I think more just the way that Solana is built. Not to say that's a bad blockchain, just to get the performance that they get, they had to make some trade-offs.
And I went through about a year ago looking to port our stuff over to Solana, and that was very much my impression, was that it was going to be extremely difficult to write something secure over there.
So if I can go, I don't know if this is like a separate question, like entirely different question from what everybody has been asking, but I went through a couple of CTF videos, and I was trying to understand how most of the solutions were implemented, in finding the solution to the problem. So one thing I noticed was, one of the videos I watched was actually called jump-oriented programming. So I started getting the feeling like you needed some level of understanding of bytecode and how to manipulate the EVMs and the to be able to write solutions, so like CTS and like maybe even generally for smart contract security, it appeared like you needed to like understand the EVM and like bytecodes and the like. So I just want to ask how much knowledge of like bytecode and like jump-oriented programming, as the person called it, do you think is needed to actually be a very good smart contract auditor?
I'd say very few bugs that I've seen in reading most of the DeFi hacks, or the code of most of the DeFi hacks, have been ones that would require a bytecode level knowledge of Solidity. They're almost just clear logic bugs, or classic Solidity things like reentrancy or overflows.
Just hopping in to see if anyone else has any questions. I'm gonna hop into the event channel. Seems as if there's a good discussion going on in there as well. Seems as I missed one. So Sleepy asks is asking you, Sam, how'd you get your start when it came to Trail of Bits? What events led up to it, and what had you achieved before joining them? Reason he's asking is because he's looking to join the Trail of Bits team as a blockchain security apprentice. So he's kind of looking for some insight and tips if you have it.
So I think, let's see, what had I been doing before joining Trail of Bits? Just finding bugs and stuff, and then I mentioned offhandedly in a group chat that I was maybe open to joining a firm or another, and so Dan reached out and said, "Hey, like, is it something that you might be interested in?" This was obviously before Trail of Bits formalized that process with the apprenticeship program, and so you don't need to be in a room with Dan anymore to make that happen. I think in terms of tips or advice, just know your stuff. They're gonna ask you, what should be fairly basic questions before during the interview for the apprenticeship, stuff like reentrancy and all the very fun stuff. They're gonna ask you. I'm trying to remember. Well, so see, here's the thing. I shouldn't know any of this because this is part of the interview process, but I do know about it because some people decided it would be a very good idea to ask me for help on the interview assignments. So also don't do that, I guess. Definitely know the problems enough to solve it yourself. That seems like a good starting step.
Sleepy, let me know if this answers your question, and if you have a follow-up or want to learn more, post it in the chat, and I'll follow up with Sam with it.
I mean, not to sort of like, uh, put anyone else on the spot here, but would be curious about how other people, currently speaking, what their workflows are like for finding bugs or auditing code, as Adrian asks in the chat. Totally putting someone on the spot though.
No, good. That's good.
Well, I don't do bug bounty hunting very seriously at all. So that's just like every once in a while when I have a spare hour or something. So for that, my workflow is I just look for a very recently posted bug bounty to avoid dupes that sounds like from the name of the project it would have a bug, and then I go to the method or to the contract name that looks like it would have a bug, and then I go to the method that looks like it would have a bug, and then I see if there's a bug, and if I don't find something in 15 minutes looking at the contract, then I give up and go away. So that's very non-scientific. As far as doing PR reviews on changes to our own code base, I have a checklist that I go down through and try to think about each different aspect of it as I go through the code. And then once I've done that, I play with it on a fork for a while and see if I can get it to do anything weird. And then after that, once I've kind of loaded everything in my brain, I sleep on it and think about it for a day or two, print it out on a sheet of paper and stare at it some more.
One thing we're throwing in there too, just to make sure we show the right stuff. If you are like actively looking for bounties and kind of want alpha on the ones that get released, join the email list. That's pretty much the only emails we send out. It's just new bounty announcements.
Yeah, actually on that, because I send them out. So as the bounties are being released and going live, I push them out via email. So as Valley said, the best way to stay updated in terms of the new stuff or even some of the updates is to just hop on the newsletter. It's at the bottom of the immunify.com website if you guys are looking for it.
Going back to the workflow question, so of course it's really different for bug bounty and auditing. But for bug bounty, like to start out, like right in the beginning when I was just trying to learn Solidity and just find even the smallest bug, it was pretty much just spray and pray, and that's just like looking at basically every single contract on Immunify and elsewhere to find like the lowest hanging fruit. So my very first bug was something pretty much trivial to find, and you could probably find it with like an automated scanner, but I think just in the beginning, if you're learning, it's pretty helpful to just get comfortable with reading a bunch of code instead of scanning it. I'm sure at a later stage you can get into scanning, but yeah, I think if you just trying to break through, just try to review a bunch of contracts. Maybe like as Daniel was saying, with a specific bug in mind, but I just had like a few small bugs to look for example, like access control or de-entity, because those are kind of easy to spot bugs, finding an article attack or vulnerability might not be like the easiest thing for someone just starting out. Yeah.
There tend to be a lot of quote unquote stupid bugs in Solidity things. So that that's a great way to get started is just looking for things like that because they keep showing up over and over everywhere.
Yeah, that burnout question is really good, I think. Frankly speaking, I have personally felt burnout at times just from, going too hard at it, spending way too much time per day looking through contracts. I think in general, it's definitely, I mentioned in that interview with Immunify that a lot of this is just luck, right? Like you look at the postmortems and you go, this seems pretty obvious in hindsight, and sometimes it is, and it's just a question of luck. So on one hand, it does benefit if you spend a lot of time looking through contracts, but on the other hand, it can really hurt when you put in all that time and then someone else comes in and just gets lucky. I think burnout is a very real thing that people are dealing with, and so it's not just you. Definitely, take a break if you need to. Don't push yourself. There's going to be plenty of new bounties coming out. There's going to be plenty of new bugs. And if you know at the end of the day, if you really need to find something, just go on BSC. You'll find something.
Sam, how do you, just a quick question, how do you like figure out when you're in that burnout mode, and then like what are some steps that you do to essentially mitigate getting in that zone? And then like how, and like I know one of the other questions is, what do you do when you step away? You know, is it fully away from everything and anything code, fully anything and everything away from like tech? Like how do you kind of, you know, go about managing all this?
Let's see. I think, I mean, it feels well when I'm not really feeling it. It's like I'll look through Etherscan, but I won't really be, I won't really be engaged. I'll like scroll through it. It'll feel more like a chore than something I'm actually having fun doing. And I think that's a really good sign that I need to take a break. It's just it doesn't feel fun anymore. If I'm not actually, to be completely honest, I think I don't quite remember what the second half of the question was. If you could repeat that.
Yeah, it was just more of like you know, when you kind of get in that zone, like it was like more of when you get into that zone of burnout, like how do you know? And then also kind of a follow up to that is what happen, or like what do you do when you step away from this? Like do you step away fully from, you know, looking at code? Do you step away, or is it, or do you just do some sort of light version of that, or do you just step away fully to kind of just, as Mitchell say, just, you know, meditate at the top of the Himalayas?
I think, well, it's hard to ever step away fully in DeFi, right? Things are always happening. And like it or not, I can't leave my notifications unread. I have to check what's happening on Telegram, what's happening on Twitter. But at the very least, if I'm not really feeling it, I'll just stop browsing through contracts on my own time. Just go and do something else, and then hopefully in a few days, you know, that urge to dig through something and really like reason through every control flow, that urge comes back.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you bring up a good point, because it also goes in the fact that like you could spend a lot of hours on it. So, you know, I do know a few people for this, for bug bounties. It's not their, I guess, primary priority. So for example, like I do, you know, as you know, Sam, there's a few people that are also, for example, CTOs or running their own projects. And some of them, they do this for fun. Some of them, it's a side project, or some of them, I know a few people that are also in this listening in right now that are students, and you know, do it on the, like, as aside to their coursework, and or just doing it for fun. So I guess like the question that you know, kind of a follow up to that is, you know, on a typical day, like how many hours do you normally, you know, do actual, you know, bug bounty hunting or bug hunting?
I'd love to hear from other people on this as well, but for me, I think the quick answer is just, frankly speaking, not a lot, because now I have a full-time job at Paradigm doing Paradigm things. So it, maybe like 36 minutes a day. Sometimes not even that if I have other things to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get other people's, you know, insight here. If you guys either want to hop in the chat or hop in the, you know, to hop on stage and let us know kind of, you know, if you've experienced burnout, what you guys have done to mitigate it, and you know, how many, you know, hours that you've been, you know, going around hunting bugs, and where you see kind of a fine line or a threshold where like certain amount of hours is too much, or certain amount of hours is not too much. But love to get everybody's feedback here if you guys want to hop in.
I'd say actually hunting for bugs maybe like 15 minutes every month. If I find one, then it's about 4 hours to make a POC, and then tends to be a lot of hours talking with the project afterwards. But that's not counting, though, that if anybody gets hacked, I usually spend like 4 hours digging into how the hack worked and what happened.
So Daniel, just a kind of a follow-up for you too, is like, have you gotten to the point where you've also experienced that arena of burnout? Either whether it be even hunting bugs or even working on your own project, and then how have you kind of gone around, mitigating that or trying to avoid that, in the future as you move forward?
I don't know that I've hit times I don't feel like doing things, but it's, whenever I finish that thing that I really don't feel like doing, then I'm good. So that might last a week or something, but I'm pretty good about keeping work inside work hours. And so even if work-related stuff is being non-fun, the rest of life goes on and is good. And so I guess I wouldn't say I've had any long-term burnout ever, but I have certainly had things that I've procrastinated hard and hated working on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think at some point everybody goes down that path of feeling like they're just being overwhelmed with everything. And I think there's been a few good suggestions of what some of the things that people have been doing. One of them has just been, for example, like what was it? Exercise and sport helps IRS inspector, get his mind away from things. I think that's something that I use to my advantage as well. I would love to hear, some of the other things that. Is there a black market for Solidity exploits? I don't know. I don't know if I could answer that. So his clarification is there a black market for Solidity exploits, like companies buying criticals?
I mean, I know there's black markets for people to build Solidity exploits, like to hire the hackers. I don't know if anybody's actually selling just exploits like as raw code. I can throw one thing in there. Having, spent a little bit of time on like deep web black hat forums and whatnot, these people don't seem to. I would be surprised to watch one of them sell something that they could themselves just run the exploit on. It doesn't seem like their style.
So here's a fun question for Samzy Sun and anyone else who wants to ask it. Since I read DeFi hacks that happen, I kind of form my own flavors and opinions of the hacks and how skilled the people executing them were, and I don't know. It's kind of like somebody who enjoys cheese or enjoys wines or something. You get all the different flavors. So, is there any hacks for you, Sam, that have stood out as being particularly clever in either their execution or the vulnerability they found?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I would have to go check a list of hacks to remind myself of everything that's happened.
Yeah, well, for me, one that I told somebody right away was done by a noob was the big bridge hack, like the $650 million bridge hack. I knew that they had not been doing this before, just from the moment I looked through the hack. And similar, the opposite of that is, I think, with the last cream hack, the big one that emptied everything out, looked like they really knew what they were doing, and was one of the
That's a good
fanciest
one.
I've
Yeah.
seen in a long time. plus a completely novel vulnerability with actually not manipulating the price on an oracle, but actually manipulating, giving money, $16 million to an asset to make the asset worth more. That was brilliant.
Yeah, no, Cream one was good. That one definitely took me by surprise as well. The bridge one, I assume you mean Poly, right? That one, I mean, it was also clever, but I guess I wasn't as impressed because I reported something similar to optimism. So it was,
Yeah,
it
well,
wasn't,
the
it didn't
technical
have
side
that
was clever,
double for me.
but the all the work into securing the funds afterwards and before, or and hiding everything was not that clever.
Oh yeah. I guess I'm curious. Coming back at you with a question. As someone who I suppose enjoys their cheese and wines, what cheese or wine would you compare me to?
I'm thinking really hard on that. That is a quite the question to ask. I'm actually not a wine enjoyer. I just see people do that. So I'll have to think about cheese, but it's going to take me a minute because that totally threw me for a loop.
That was actually a good question. Had me laughing on the side. Yeah, I mean, also to kind of follow up to, the topic at hand, like, would love to know what some of the exploits that everybody else found interesting or something that was unique that you guys came across. Feel free to also hop in the chat, hop in the, I invite you guys to the stage. Please don't be shy. Love to hear from your guys' perspectives.
All right, so I'll answer the cheese question while we wait. So I got to see Sam work on the cream hack, I think it was. And I was working on debugging the thing, and I'm usually fairly fast about it, but Sam had it figured out when I was only halfway through. And so I'd say some kind of like green moldy cheese that you open up the box and it like knocks you off your feet. Like, what the heck? Where did that come from? How did that even exist in the world?
So, so you heard it here first. Daniel thinks Sam is a green, moldy, stinky cheese. That's what we got from the first hacker hangout.
Shots fired.
Hello, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So yeah, I posted this in the channel, but and I don't know if you've already mentioned this, but how often do you all go through like setting up like local networks, like for example, like a hard hat network, and for a given target, and maybe I don't know, using hard hat tests, I guess, as a sort of methodology to ensure that certain things are covered. Is that something you find yourself doing for a bunch of targets, or is it more of a rare occurrence where you're more relying on just static analysis? Or using something besides hard hat?
Cool. So I can answer this one. So I generally have like one Audit project that I know works with a mainnet fork, and I pretty much just copy and use that exact project for any other targets that I find interesting. So it's only once I found quite an interesting lead after doing some manual review, then I'll just pretty much copy pasta the address into the Audit project. So because it's a mainnet fork, there's also a package that fetches the contract ABI. I think it's like Audit something. I'll find it. It's on one of the blog posts. So yeah, you just pretty much paste in the address and it fetches the contract and ABI for you. So it's quite easy to just almost have like a generic project ready for the next target.
Are there any components of that particular project that you sort of rely on that are difficult? For example, like oracles, or like if something relies on a DEX or an oracle, like mocking that out. Do you write your own mocks? Do you try to like, I guess if you're using a fork of mainnet, you could simulate that. But yeah, are there any specific difficult portions of crafting a project like that?
I suppose I haven't gotten to the stage where I have to like do something like that. So far, most of my bugs have just been, sort of straightforward. So I pretty much just try to self-destruct proxies or logic contracts, and that kind of just relies on being able to fetch a proxy with some interface, basically the logic interface, and maybe I'll try to demonstrate impact by impersonating an account. So just those few ingredients are like enough for me. But I'm keen to hear from some of the other guys to hear what they do for that.
I just use Brownie ETH, which has built-in support for that, and I like it because I don't have to say await all the time. But otherwise, very much what you're describing, Toasted Sandwich. I just use the same thing for everything. I don't write unit tests because unit tests just take more time to write. I can do it all live just from the console running commands. So unit tests are helpful in real life because things may change. Your code may change in the future, and then you have the same test checking it. But when you're just checking a contract, you don't really need that at all.
Thank you.
You got one question. From Adrian just pointed out to me, essentially for a few beginners. So a few beginners that are here, for you guys that are currently on the stage, like what are some things that you can recommend for someone to start in the blockchain space? I mean, I guess the first thing that I would do is like follow Immunify, hashtag shameless plug here. Sign up for the newsletter because I send them out. So it'd be nice to have more people to reach. Again, like the socials and everything else, we keep fairly updated. There's a really good group of people within the space. Especially in this Discord that are willing to help. I know a lot of the guys that are always here. I'll give a shout out to CKK because he's been the one that's fairly active. He helps me out every once in a while when I miss things. And I know he's lurking around here. But yeah, like I guess the short answer, and like I said, the shameless plug is to follow Immunify. You feel free to always ask questions in the Discord. There's always someone here to help you answer them. But yeah, that's probably my answer. I don't know if anybody else wants to plug something else without me just talking about Immunify for the next 2 minutes.
I'd say that the two sides of if I were talking someone through getting started who was new to Solidity but new programming was read up on old hacks. It's you learn so much from actually looking through the code of hacks that have happened, and secondly, find some kind of CTF or somewhere you can get some broken contracts that are kind of broken easily and find the bugs in them, and then mix in a little bit of bug hunting on Immunify with that.
I think if you are like completely unfamiliar to blockchain or at least smart contracts, Crypto Zombies is like really nice to break into Solidity and learn a little bit how everything works. That's what I started with. And yeah, I
guess write a smart contract would be very step one. Write like a Hello World smart contract.
Yeah. The Crypto Zombies as Hello World and like the Hello World for different concepts as well, like articles and so on. So it's quite a nice tutorial. Definitely do that in the beginning,
I don't know that I ever get into the flow if I'm just looking for a bug bounty. That's just something simple and stupid. But if I'm looking through my old contract, I just kind of start working down through my list of problems to check for and it feels like work, I guess. But having a list of the next thing that I'm going to do as soon as I finish the one thing makes it so that I continue on with it instead of going off to do something else, I guess.
Yeah, Sam, just following up on that, is there anything that you kind of do to get into a flow? Something that or is this something that just happens naturally for you?
See, I don't think there's anything in particular. I just, feel like doing it. Well, actually, I guess that's a lie. There's one thing that really gets me motivated is when I see a bunch of bugs being found and or exploited by other people, and I go, damn, what the fuck am I doing? That really gets me motivated. But competitiveness, not necessarily to succeed. Probably good to have, but again, not necessary.
That makes sense.
I have a question to add to that. I
Yeah,
think you mentioned the art of Tamo in your interview. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So do you want to talk about it? Because I think it meant, like you said, it gets you in the flow, or it gives you the edge.
That is a good question. I do not know if I am able to divulge these deep secrets in such
Okay, we
chats
can
such as this.
like have a one-on-one about that. That's fine.
Well, I've got to run. Have fun, guys.
sounds good. Also, before you guys run, I'm gonna throw a bunch of links to POAPs that you can claim for our first Immunify Hacker Hangout. So I'm gonna throw them in here. Thank you, Daniel, for hopping on. But if you get a chance, claim a POAP for this event. We'll have future ones coming through. So thanks for hopping on again.
And everyone, please submit your bugs through Immunify, or just
And then-
hit up Mitchell or someone, and they'll get it.
And also, big props to Lou for putting together the POAPs. They're actually beautiful. So I threw 2 sets of links in there. Feel free to grab a link, claim your POAP. Thank you, Lou, for putting those together.
You're welcome, Chris. And thanks everyone for joining. This was
Cool.
great.
We'll keep this going. If you guys have any more questions, if you need to step out, and I want to be respectful for everybody's time. Thanks for hopping in. We'll still be active within the in the chat. I'll stay on the voice for a little bit longer to see what kind of questions I can ask or ping someone because I'm not as technical as some of you guys. Oh, it looks like we're getting errors. I think that's on the POAP side. Let me see. Oh,
It's definitely on the POAP side. I would like to say that's because we crashed their servers, but I doubt it.
I think we're too small to crash their servers, but
all 40 of us.
But I'll keep the exactly, CKA. 30 people crashing a server is pretty sad. But I'll keep the POAPs pinned so you guys can pull them off until they're all claimed. Let me see. Let me pin that. So these are available for you guys after this call, and you guys know where to find them. They're just in the pinned messages. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to hop in. We're still on this. We're still jamming on this call or on this hangout. I don't want to call it a call. That's too formal.
Cool. Just one last question from my side, and this just to everyone, is finding targets from any of the other hackers here. What is your recon process besides just looking at a Unify?
So yeah, so
It's the sound of everyone deciding how much alpha to leak.
so yeah, any process in that in terms of trying to get on top of bug bounties and trying to stay as updated as possible. Okay, it seems as if the POAP links are starting to work again a little bit also. Oh, just kidding. It just gave me another error. But yeah, just going back to Ashik's question in terms of how does everybody stay on top of bug bounties and trying to be, I guess, first. So it seems as if the POAP is working if you have the mobile app. And then also seeing claims on Firefox. So that might be something to look into.
I might just speak up. Is it okay? Is it a good time to shoot out with a question?
Yeah, go
Cool.
for it. Always a good time.
Okay. So I'm kind of got a bit of a background in the Unix world, and have been following kind of I guess mitigations in the Unix world for basically ensuring that if you have an exploit in a traditional application, that you can implement like an architecture or a design that will kind of compartmentalize the access of any attacker to kind of basically as an acknowledgement that coding is effectively difficult, and that you really have a very difficult time trying to produce applications or code that don't have bugs. So this is kind of an admission that producing bug-free code is so difficult. So instead, the approach is to try and mitigate and to compartmentalize things and to implement mitigations that really ensure that if someone comes in and can exploit something, that actually they might be able to do a little bit, but they haven't compromised the complete system. So an example of this in Unix world is like privilege separation, where you run things as limited users, and sometimes people divide applications up in communicate with each other. And an analogy of that might be smart contracts kind of building on top of each other. But I'm just curious to understand if there's any thoughts around if there's kind of parallel or similar techniques in smart contract development that might also be used to kind of say that if someone compromises or exploits a smart contract in some way, that even though they achieve that, they haven't got the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, and they haven't been able to just steal everything inside of it. I'm just wondering if there's any thoughts around parallel concepts in the blockchain space.
Anyone got any insight on that? It's a little bit out of my expertise. All right. I don't know
Hey,
how to.
if you want
I guess,
to, so I was just gonna say, if we want to bring up IRS inspector, assuming they want to speak, I think they might have a cool story here. They mentioned that they've worked with a DAO to improve OPSEC, which is not many DAOs have gotten deep on OPSEC, so that'd be cool.
that's interesting. I'd love to hear. I'll invite him to speak, or him or her to speak. Does he want to hop in and chat with us about that? I think that'd be interesting. Sorry, Dixie. I mean, it's out of my scope. Like, I don't know how to answer that. So I don't know if Sam, you heard the question, or anybody else that heard his question wants to chime in here.
I don't know if there's like a good one-to-one parallel to draw here. Like, I guess you can imagine something similar where, recently with all these vulnerabilities where, some contract receives approvals and that contract can make arbitrary calls, then those approvals are unsafe. And so what people do is they deploy these one-off contracts, or not one-off, but they deploy these contracts that are built just to receive approvals and can only be called by the original contract, or they build contracts that can call anything but the approval receiving contract, right? And so I think that's kind of similar, where you make this separate contract that is more privileged, and you sort of like treat that as a security boundary. But in general, I'm not sure if the concepts really translate perfectly over from traditional security over to DeFi.
I think that's a good example. Do you have any examples of projects that have implemented those methodologies?
Yeah, I mean, basically, well, let's see. So 1inch does it. DODX and Gelato now definitely do it. I think, well, sorry, no other names are coming to mind, but basically, whenever you see these sort of like, some contract needs to receive approvals and also has to support like arbitrary functionality, or even like some sort of, or BZX does it. BZX also messed that up with their flash loans. You could take a flash loan and call, any interaction, and some people made that interaction transfer much money, and that was totally fine.
Yeah, very interesting. I think I might have a bit closer look at that. I guess flash loans is especially an interesting one. Like, potentially you could, if you have like a kind of a core contract, you could say it's only allowed to be interacted with from another particular smart contract, which then could perform all kinds of filtering on specifically flash loans, for instance. That could be quite an interesting idea. Yeah. But thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, Dixie. Also, I like your non-fungible fungi, PFP.
Thanks very much. It's a very cool project.
It is.
Yeah, I was admiring that too.
Cool. I need to run. But thanks a lot for organizing, Chris. It was a cool first official Hangout. Hangout, and I'll definitely be at the next one. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ashik.
See you at the next one.
I might pop in with another question if I could.
Yeah, let's go.
Just relating to kind of assurance activities and testing and kind of, I'm curious about what are the development activities and assurance activities that a developer can go through that will frustrate like a red team person or an attacker the most. Like, which kinds of things can people do themselves that are most valuable to kind of frustrate people who are looking at trying to exploit a smart contract?
Just write really awful code. Follow the exact opposite of every best practice you've ever seen, and I assure you that will frustrate everyone to know it.
Okay, I was also a bit curious about the concept of fuzzing. I've heard of one project recently that has kind of mentioned that they have been going through fuzzing of a new version of their smart contract. I was just curious. To me, that strikes me as something that's probably not that common. in smart contracts, but I was just curious whether or not you had any thoughts about that.
I mean, it's becoming more popular. You know, I definitely agree that I think it's seen a big uptick over the last year. Recently, I would say, if you look at something like DAppTools, which is gaining a lot of attention, or I guess I'm legally obligated to show Foundry, as it's something that George is working on at Paradigm. But if you look at DAppTools or Foundry, both of those come with very, very user-friendly tools for fuzzing your contracts. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely, it's a really great tool to have in your toolbox. Just throw it at one of your functions, make sure that it works for all the input space.
Okay, thanks.
Hey Sam, I just had one more question from Sleepy. He just wanted to follow up on his Trail of Bits question. Wanted to know what your current role at Paradigm looks like, and what trends do you see moving forward with blockchain hacks?
Current role at Paradigm is basically either helping portfolio companies with their security, which is partly why I don't really do a lot of bug hunting myself nowadays. I get I get my fill helping portfolio companies do that. Also, boring internal security stuff, making sure that people can't get phished, and then some some free time to go off and just do whatever. I don't know, help with postmortems, write blog posts, make CTFs. Hey, you guys should do a Paradigm CTF, by the way. I hear that's a really great CTF. Let's see. General trends. Honestly, I'm not the best at making predictions like this. It's. I mean, I really wish I could give you something like really insightful, and you'd be like, "Wow, that's really cool." But I honestly, I just don't know. I feel like if anything, it seems like we're not really going anywhere. It's year after year. It's still oracles, and it's still reentrancy, and it's still logic errors, and we get these new things happening once in a while. But now I'm like, yeah, we're just like that grim, to do a really nice throwback to one of the first topics on this on this discussion, which is grim finance. Like that was, I mean, first of all, it was just like, classic someone just like someone can pass an inning token, but also more specifically, it was like the exact same vulnerability that Origin USD got hacked for, and so it's like, it's nothing new, right? And so I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, geez, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, are we still going to be seeing this same these same things happening over and over again?
Yeah, that makes sense. I also, Sam, if you want to throw in the chat a link to your Paradigm CTF, feel free to throw it in the chat so everybody has a direction, or to go to, or a destination to go to when they want to look more look deeper into that. There you go. Oh, CKK's got it. It's always on point with stuff. Let's see what else we got. So just if you guys missed my announcement earlier, the POAPs are starting to work again. So feel free to take a look at the pinned posts, because all the links are in there. Feel free to grab one to mark this. Oh, they're all gone. If you missed a POAP, send either myself or Louv a DM, and we'll get you a POAP for the event. Oh, and then sorry, Sleepy, I missed that aspect. I was trying to get through the first question. Also, Sam, Sleepy also had a second, I guess, a question. He said a friend mentioned that smaller proof of stake protocols have been corrupted previously. So it's a much less secure protocol compared to proof of work. What are your thoughts on that perspective?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea. I basically have gone like headfirst into ETH1. So I know very little about Solana. I know even less about ETH2 or other chains in general.
I might be able to jump in with like a weak journeyman's understanding, but somewhat I have like, well, so I mean, the real problem with the whole POS thing, it's not that POS has any serious problems compared to POW. It really is a lot better. But just like if you had a POW chain with 100 people controlling all the mining machines, it just wouldn't be a secure chain, right? Because those people would be incentivized to attack their own protocol or collude together and create a cartel. And with POS, there's a thing called Jesus, a while since I researched this. I forget what it is, but essentially it's a lot easier for you to simultaneously mine multiple chains on POS than POW because it doesn't take all that computing power. So technically, unless you build it very, very carefully, it's not actually disincentivized to be actively attacking your own chain as a POS node. And if the chain is small, it's just an untenable situation. It's not going to maintain decentralization.
I guess any other thoughts around that? POS, I guess it might be like a POS versus POW.
Yeah, like one rule of thumb, like outside of all protocols and all fucking consensus mechanisms, is that if you can fit all the decision makers in one room or auditorium or fucking amphitheater, it's not decentralized.
Ooh, good. Looks like some solid insight from you, Valley. Any other questions, insights, anything like that? I will go ahead and I'll keep this going. Like I said, if you guys need to step out, feel free to step out. Appreciate you hopping in. If you need a POAP, like I said, either DM myself or Louv in the chat, and we'll get you hooked up with a POAP. I know 96 POAPs left.
Now, if I'm not wrong, that would mean that there's 96 POAP tokens minted. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. 96. Here. Oh, they all got minted. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I think the next one we'll put together a secret code for it but it's all good. This was our first one, so we'll try and hook everybody up. What does the power of the POAP represent? It proves that you were here and that you got the link off of here. But then again, the power is you are now officially an OG in the Immunify Hacker Hangouts. And yes, unlimited power.
I think it's also like a memento, like you can remember it, and it's also on the blockchain. So you can't really lose it, right? If you have access to your wallet or whatever.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think it's sentimental for me. But yeah, it could also be like a pass, like maybe someone can check which POAPs you have and then give you access to more events or things like that. There are a lot of applications, but I think it's cool. Like you have this list of events that you went to.
Yeah, if anybody does have problems meeting the POAP, like message me or Louv or Chris. One of us will figure it out.
Yeah, sounds good, Sam. Appreciate you hopping on, and we'll try and get other people so you don't have to hog all the time next time. But it was fun having you on here. Thanks for hopping on, man.
Hey, Sam, we love you, man. You're a legend.
Stop gassing him up. We know Sam's a good guy. Yeah, I mean, I'll stick around if anybody wants to ask me more questions. If you guys want to have a discussion, I mean, feel free to continue it in the chat. That's always active. But yeah, I mean, well, if you guys gotta leave, see you guys later. Appreciate you hopping on. I'll stick around for another like 15 minutes, and then I think maybe I'll probably remove myself as well. I know everybody else.
Yeah, we're rounding on like an hour and a half here, which is pretty fucking solid. Longer than I thought this would go.
Yeah, I know. I'm sweating on the first one, that's for sure.
Most definitely. Oh, by the way, guys, so I've noticed that there's a lot of text chat going on in the background here. We were thinking of doing a thing that would be like this, but only text versus this and voice. I'm starting to think that that's a meaningless distinction. If anyone disagrees, let me know. But like we were considering, making future ones some are text only. That doesn't appear to be necessary.
I personally don't think so, honestly, Valley, because I mean, we've been good at going back and forth. I know, like, I've been answering questions on voice, so people like, thank you guys, everybody, for tagging me if I missed your question, or if I forgot a part of it, like Sleepy has. So I appreciate you guys tagging me, just so I can stay up to date, because I know it was moving quick, and I was missing a few questions here and there, but hopefully I was able to answer all the ones that you guys wanted answered. Yeah, exactly. It was I have people that help me monitor the text. So like it's easy to just keep updated with it, but it's better when you have multiple eyes and ears on this. But yeah, I think CKK, you're right. Voice plus chat is the right way to go. So just because a lot of people, sometimes, for example, English is not their first language. B, they also want to, stay in an anonymous form. So that's fine. I'm okay with both. So I think this is a pretty good medium. Actually, also what I want to ask too, you guys can answer this in the chat too, is what do you guys think of a Twitter Spaces? Do you think that's worth giving that a go, or do you guys want to keep it here on Discord?
Oh, and one thing worth mentioning while you're thinking about that, I believe Twitter Space has a voice anonymizing function. So if anybody wants to stay anonymous but use their voice, I think Twitter would allow for that.
Yeah, the only thing that like it just removes that whole the text aspect of it. So I know a lot of people are yeah. So CKK, I was asking if you guys wanted to give this a go on Twitter Spaces, or if you guys want to keep it on Discord, or at least like experiment on Twitter Spaces, see if we can actually make this a bigger crowd. I mean, either or is good. I'm fine with testing them both. Maybe one of the ones later down the line is going to be on Twitter Spaces. Yeah, Adrian, that's what I think we're gonna do is probably run one on Twitter Space just to see how it goes. I mean, we got a good group here. It was nice, tight knit. We were trying to address everybody's questions. Didn't move too fast. But let's yeah. I think I would get lost, CK, if we did the chat here plus Twitter Spaces. Hopping back and forth between the platforms might be a little bit rough, but I think we can give it a go. Maybe give it a shot for one of them. See what happens. Yes, you can PM me your questions if you have it. Yeah, chat is impossible on Spaces. So yeah, you could just DM me your questions.
I really do find that a bad UX design on Twitter's perspective. Like up until now, Twitter's been a text-only medium, and then they make a textless voice chat. Like what?
Cool. I'll stick around for, like I said, probably what is it? About like 10 more minutes. And if any other questions you have, feel free to hop on stage. If not, throw them up in the event channel. We're always in there, or one of us is always is going to be in there. Answer your questions. Let everybody go, and then we'll probably see you on the next one. But yeah, I mean, floor is still open. So anyone that wants to hop in, feel free to hop in. So I just got a question via DM. So they jumped in a little bit late, but wanted to find the perfect roadmap for finding a $2 million bounty. So I think honestly, the question or the answer to that really is most of those larger bounties are usually listed with Immunify. I know Immunify, again, like shameless plug here. Immunify does have a few $1 million bounties that are currently live or have currently just gone live. I know Moonbeam Network just went up. Let's see what else. There's a few that just updated. Akala is one that just went up. Primitive just updated theirs to $1 million. So there's a few that are on the website. If you just go to immunify.com/bounty, you'll find all, some of the ones that are there. I believe you can just browse through the list and see what's there, but that's essentially how you would get it as far as like that's what would be probably the first step in trying to in essentially identifying what bounties are available. As far as like the process for criticals, that would be a little bit outside of my expertise. So, if someone else could hop in there or provide some sort of insight, or if you want to throw it in the event channel, I'm sure one of the guys that are a little bit more technical and more can probably help you out there in terms of getting started. So the follow-up to that is the learning for blockchain hacking. I see what you're saying. Okay, so it's just more of getting started. There's a few things here. There's a few tutorials and write-ups that have been done by a few members of the community that have been published on the Immunify blog. So if you want, I could just DM them back to you in terms of readings to get started on. A lot of things that Sam said, for example, reading some postmortems, reading previous hacks, some of the things that things that have been done in the past, so you can get a good idea of how some of the past exploits and hacks have been done. Could give you some good insight in terms of that. Also, there's a channel in here that just says learn blockchain hacking. I know on the Immunify Twitter, they post a lot of tutorials, things to learn. It's basically Immunify's essentially own quote unquote school. So I would check out the learn blockchain hacking thread on the Discord, as well as the postmortems as well. And then, like I said, I would follow the new bug bounties channel as well as signing up to the newsletter, because I do send those out as soon as these bug bounties go live. So that would be the easiest way to get first notice or first crack at them. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll send you a DM with more links and stuff into it. Cool. It looks as if we are coming up on the 90-minute mark, probably in about the next minute or so. If you guys don't have any other questions, I'll exit this and look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. We'll definitely post out an announcement. Possibly the next one would probably be on Discord as well. But I'll coordinate with the team to see if we'll do it on Spaces as well. But again, thank you guys again for hopping in and asking some awesome questions. I know we got a chance to grill Sam. Maybe on the next call we find a new victim to grill and extract more information from. But yeah,
one last thing to note there, actually, and I'll throw this in the general chat too. If you guys have a hacker that you would particularly like us to get on these calls so you can ask some questions, let us know. We'll do our best to hunt them down.
Yeah, or if you want to be, to hop on and be, spotlighted, let me know, and we'll make it happen. Who wants to be famous, I think is the question. But cool. That's it for today. I'm going to exit. Thank you again, guys, for hopping in. Appreciate it. It's been awesome. This like 90 minutes actually flew by fairly quick. Got some awesome questions answered. Got some awesome insight from Sam and Daniel and a few other guys that were in the chat. CKK as well. If you had an issue claiming a POAP, DM myself, Valley, or Louvre, and we'll get you hooked up and get you get you one of the first Immunify Hacker Hangout POAPs. Awesome. I think that's it for today. Thank you guys, and I'll move myself back to the audience and exit the stage. So I appreciate you guys hopping in, and we'll continue the chat on the event channel as